The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants.
America today is on bended knee in prayer for the people whose lives were lost here, for the workers who work here, for the families who mourn. This nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens. I can hear you. The people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
It's time for Health Futures with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and I tip my hat to our producer over there, James. Thank you for the wonderful tribute. This weekend marks 15 years. It's hard to believe, 15 years when we had one of the worst. It was the worst event ever happened to our country. And here we are. 9/11 is Sunday. And I want to just take a moment and pay tribute to all those people. I'm talking about not only the lives that were lost and the families that lost loved ones, but those civil servants. I'm talking about those firefighters and police officers that lost their lives that day. And many of our soldiers lost their lives in the 15 years since then. And 9/11 is a day that we will all remember, and many of us recall where we were. And I've got two guests here. We'll probably talk about that when we get those shows started. Also, 9/11 Sunday is the first day of NFL football. Although it started yesterday, football starts on Sunday. Sunday night is the Arizona Cardinals.
College football, man.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. That's a repeat guest that I've got here on the show, and a good friend, Dr. David Bailie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I really enjoy having you here, and we're going to talk a lot about a lot of things. Medicine being one of those. We'll talk about 9/11, and we'll talk about where healthcare is going. Also, to David's right, my left, is the owner of KFNM Money Radio, 1510 AM, 99.3 FM, and the World Wide Web, moneyradio1510.com. Ron Cohen. Ron, welcome to the show.
Bob, great to be here as always, and great to be in studio and my radio station.
You are welcome to be here, and I'm so glad to have you.
Don't usually get to do this, but we'll give it a shot.
You have an ID badge, sir?
We'll give it a shot. How does this work?
Well, first of all, if you're just tuning in, the show is called Health Futures for a reason. It's about the future of healthcare, and especially for our older adult population. And Cypress HomeCare Solutions, we care for many of the older adults in our community, keeping them safe and secure in home by providing exceptional care through caregiving. And we've been here in the Valley for 23 years, and the secret really truly is caregivers. So I'm making an appeal to our listening audience. If you are that one person, or if you know somebody that's got that caring spirit, wants to make a difference in somebody's lives, we're always looking for people. Give us a call at Cypress HomeCare Solutions. You can catch us at 602-264-8009. So James was really nice to kick it off with a tribute to 9/11. David, do you remember 9/11? Do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I was on the treadmill.
You were on the treadmill. So you saw
watching CNN, and my kids were just getting up, ready for school. So I was at our community center in our neighborhood on the treadmill, and I was watching the broadcast, no sound, but in behind was smoking. One of the Twin Towers was smoking, and then you see the plane just come right on the second one, and the anchor just kind of freaked out. So I got off the treadmill, went sprinting home.
Seems surreal, didn't it?
Oh, it was bizarre. So the kids are like, we're not going to school. They flipped the TV on.
It was an eerie feeling. How about you, Ron? Do you remember 9/11, where you were?
I was woken up early by a phone call from my mother, who was watching it and said, "You got to turn on your TV and see what's going on." And from that point on, you're just glued and you're devastated and shocked.
Yeah, it was really hard to watch. And like you, I got a phone call from my dad, and my dad said, "Are you watching TV?" I said, "No, I was getting ready for work, and I was getting the kids ready for school." And I turned on the television, and the first tower was already smoking, and I watched the second tower get hit, and I actually thought it was a replay of the first. I was like, wait a second. Are they replaying what just happened? And I just, was mesmerized. I could not believe that this happened.
Yeah, that was the most bizarre, is watching that second plane, because nobody expected it. And mind-boggling, nobody knew that second plane was even headed there, because they had a live shot of the first tower smoking, and the second plane hit live.
Right.
And, that thing, that's stuck in my head.
Yeah, it really
It's hard
did.
to believe it's been 15 years.
And I will tell you, it was a great point in our country, if you could ever look at anything positive, and that was, patriotism really grew to an all-time high. I mean, everyone really was feeling good about being a part of this country, and really, the civil servants, and I'm talking about those firefighters that were running into that building when everyone's running out. Really, a lot of people recognize the hard work that they do every day. And, it's an incredible job that they do, saving people's lives. And we lost a lot of people that day.
Yeah, and what's even more amazing is the memorial that exists now, and the new trade center, the fact that, politics is particularly in New York City, when you want to build something, whatever, it takes so long. The decisions were made, plans done, and construction started on that thing so rapidly. And it's for anybody who's not been there, it's just an amazing.
Have you been?
Yeah, it's an amazing.
I got to get there.
It's
Yeah,
mind-boggling.
same. I've been there. The whole exhibit, the tours.
Well, I can tell
Just
you.
the building itself, even looking down Manhattan, seeing that building it's pretty mind-blowing.
We're talking about the aftermath of what had happened, and one of the aftermaths was exactly what James played. I can remember President Bush being there on top of the rubble, there with Rudy Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani, with the bullhorn, talking to everybody. That was amazing.
Yeah,
And
standing on a slab with no Secret Service around him or anything.
And he was wearing, I think, a police officer's jacket or FBI jacket or something. It was just really impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, to see our president, being out there with the civil servants and with the people, and saying that we will overcome.
Not from a podium either.
Not from a podium, and not reading.
Not from a teleprompter.
But
Nothing.
But I will tell you, let's this weekend, let's remember those lives that were lost, and remember the freedoms that we stand for every single day. And, it's a great segue to talk about freedoms. And, David, you created a new company that you started January 1st called ASICS, and that's AZISKS. What's it stand for again?
The Arizona Institute for Sports, Knees, and Shoulders. Basically what I do.
What you do. And, and the interesting thing, is talk about freedom. I mean, I think what you created there was a way to really be free of some of the challenges that the government has put on us in terms of mandates relative to the Affordable Care Act, insurance companies have put on us. And really, if I remember correctly, one of the reasons why you did this was because you wanted to have a patient-centered care practice.
Yeah, I mean, that was the only reason I did it. It's becoming very, very difficult to take care of patients. Everything has kind of rules and regulations and mandates, and now these guidelines have taken over. So a physician makes a treatment decision. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't fit the guidelines, you don't get to do it. And the guidelines are not necessarily in the patient interest. And we're finding that's more and more, even in the last 6 months since I've opened up my new practice, it's become more and more detrimental to patient care. So you can have all the insurance you want, but if your insurance isn't going to cover anything that a physician recommends, why even have it? And that's where we're getting really quickly, much faster than I thought, and that's where things are going. And I mean, I can kind of tell you what's transpired over the last couple of years, because I'm in the trenches, and it is. I would never have thought that we would get to this point.
Yeah, I don't think I ever thought, nor many of our listeners, and Ron, you can chime in too, that we would ever get to this point. Healthcare's changed. The old healthcare that we knew, the ones that our mothers and fathers had, it's long gone.
Well, the whole Obamacare and everything that's taken place over the last couple of years was supposedly a function of a broken system, and not only has it not been fixed, it's gotten worse.
Yeah. I mean, it's way worse, and it's going to get even worse than it is now, based on what's coming down the pike. The bottom line in healthcare is you can't have the one thing Obamacare did that is great is allowed kids to stay on their parents' plans longer till they get their feet steady and get a job and get rid of pre-existing conditions. But the problem with healthcare is the money is maybe we'll talk about the next segment, because
we still got about 20 seconds. Go ahead.
This might get me too far into it. So, but I think I can give you a quick fix for healthcare that won't happen but should happen.
And you know what? Ron and I are going to talk about being small business owners. We're going to talk about what Obamacare has done for small business and really the imposing challenges that it has placed on small businesses with employees. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you, and I've got a little Coldplay taking us out. Thank you, James. We'll be right back.
Hey, Money Radio listeners, this is Gary Kaufbaum. Make sure you tune in for my show, Investor's Edge, heard daily at 6 p.m. You'll get my take on the markets and the world and what to look out for tomorrow. Investor's Edge is one of Money Radio's longest-running shows, so don't miss it. Listen daily at 6 p.m. on Money Radio 1510 a.m. or 99.3 FM.
This is J.D. Hayworth, host of Newsmax Prime on Newsmax TV with great news. Now you can watch Newsmax Prime twice each weeknight on KFPB Channel 56 on CenturyLink Prism. The future of our nation is at stake in this election, and it's imperative you get the news and analysis you can trust. Join me Monday through Friday on Newsmax Prime at 5 and again at 8 p.m. on KFPB Channel 56 on CenturyLink Prism. See you then.
Want to learn the big lies and absolute truth about the precious metals markets? Join Nick Grovich, founder of American Federal Rare Coin and Bullion, a nationally recognized expert and numismatist, every Tuesday afternoon at 4:20 p.m. during the Financial Review on Money Radio. Learn the truth that no coin dealer wants you to know. For more info, visit the website AmericanFederal.com. That's AmericanFederal.com.
If you're listening to this message, then that's a good sign. In fact, we're always interested in good signs. Good signs that identify people in places. Good signs that communicate important information. With our business, we not only encourage good signs, we create them. We're Croy Sign Systems. Our signs identify, direct, and inform so you can navigate through life faster and easier. And that's a really good Croy sign. Call Croy Sign Systems today at 480-619-6070 or visit us online at kroysigns.com.
Your one blood donation can help save the lives of up to 3 people. Give blood through the American Red Cross to help hospital patients. Call 1-800-RED-CROSS or visit redcrossblood.org today.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and we're on our second segment. I got Dr. David Bailie here in the house from ASICS, and I've got Ron Cohen, the president, CEO, and grand poobah owner of Money Radio, 1510 AM, 99.3 FM. And if you're just tuning in, you can catch our first segment up on our website at cypresshomecare.com. And we left off talking about health care, and we were talking about Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, which is probably one of the biggest oxymorons going. But Ron, you and I are both small business owners, and we have been required to offer health care. Talk to us a little bit about, as a small business owner, what is done for you.
Well, it's made an annual event very challenging, and that is, what are we going to do next year? Previous to all this, as a business owner, what I was forced to do was to most likely stay with the same plan I was in and just play the game of reducing benefits to keep the increase that I incurred on an annual basis to a reasonable level. Reasonable started becoming double digits anyway, because in keeping the status quo, I literally experienced an average 20 to 30% annual increase over 15 years. Dr. Bailie, I'm a patient of Dr. Bailey's. And
so am I.
16 years ago, he did knee surgery on me, and I don't know if I could get that same procedure done today because of the type of coverage I had then and how more affordable it was versus today.
As a matter of fact, you would not get that surgery even if we wanted to, because your insurance plan most likely would send it out for what's called a peer review to be looked at by a retired family practice physician who's never even seen a knee like yours, and look at some guidelines and say, well, no, this guy doesn't meet criteria. I get that weekly. And patients can't, because I'm a contracted provider with certain plans, if I'm contracted, a patient can't pay for it, which we can talk about the out-of-network stuff. If I'm out of network, we can arrange a lot more things to do and freedoms, and it doesn't necessarily cost patients anymore. In fact, it costs them less sometimes, and they get reimbursed, but it depends on the benefits. But it's I get probably 5 denials a week on blatant stuff. I have one that I just got today, was simple planning for a shoulder replacement on a patient who needs a CAT scan. Their primary care had ordered an MRI, which doesn't help us make treatment decisions from an orthopedic standpoint, but the insurance company said, well, they already got an MRI, that's enough. Well, it's not enough, and the literature doesn't say an MRI is satisfactory. You need a CT scan with special formatting, and they denied it, which means I'm not going to operate on the guy because I'm not going to cut corners because the insurance company tells me to, because then I dig myself in a hole potentially if I don't understand the anatomy when I'm in there.
Right, you're doing exploratory surgery, and that's not what you want to do.
I got a plan for surgery. I don't have complications because I plan.
Right,
and
exactly.
Now, and so this guy might, if he wants it, he's going to have to probably pay a couple grand to pay the CAT scan out of pocket, when his insurance is just simply denying it, so they hope he goes away.
Wow. And, I want to echo your sentiments, Ron. The other thing is not only changing the benefits, but you also change the deductible.
Absolutely.
And the deductible may have started at $500, then it's $1,000, it's $3,000, out of pocket, $5,000 just to be able to offer health insurance. And you're right. I'm a small business owner. I have approximately 200 caregivers. And I'm going to tell you, we put out the survey. We had to offer health insurance because we had more than 100 workers. I had 2 people in the end. 2 people. I can't write a plan for 2 people. So guess what? They have to go to the exchange. But my paperwork has to be so buttoned up tight so that if I get audited, that I fairly offered the health plan to everybody. But care workers, a lot of them are working check to check. Some of them are living on very little means, and some of them qualify to be on access. And I can't pay for the plan for them, but they couldn't afford it. They could not afford to pay their portion of it, which could have been $180 to $200 a month. They did not. They chose to go without. And what, you talk about these exchanges, right? And we had it here. A lot of people don't know this, but we were this close, and my fingers are about an inch apart right now from not having an exchange for an entire county, the Pinal County. And that was going to be the first in the entire country. And I will tell you, Blue Cross Blue Shield just 2 days ago stepped up, and they announced that they're going to offer a plan. And everyone's pulled out because they're losing money. If you know Pinal County, it's very rural, and it's hard to get to all those patients that need care. But I will bet you dollars to donuts, somebody had to tell Blue Cross Blue Shield, you need to do this, and somebody probably is assisting them financially because they're not in business to lose money.
Well, part of the Obamacare is that there's a kickback from the government to the insurance plans to make them whole. But the problem is you have an oxymoron issue with the health plans. You can't have affordable health care and have publicly traded companies involved in this love triangle. It doesn't make sense. The only way to solve healthcare is to prevent health insurance companies. United had the best year they've ever had. Their CEO made $100-something million last year. Healthcare is purely affordable. It's just when you siphon off all the money to pay shareholders and executives, there's not a whole lot left. And in the insurance company's defense, their obligation is to pay their shareholders. That's their fiduciary responsibility, not to put money into the healthcare system.
Exactly.
So you need to change it to mutual companies. And basically, if there's savings, it goes back to the policyholders as a dividend. And you still have capitalism and market forces causing those insurance companies to compete, but they're not publicly traded. They're owned by the policyholders, and the money goes back into the system, just like some life insurance companies.
No, I like it.
But there's
Northwest Mutual, Mutual of Omaha.
The politics are off the chart. And you also need to make it like auto insurance, where you pay out of your pocket to go see a doctor, and you pay for your antibiotic, and you pay for this, and you pay for that, and you use insurance as insurance. Right now we have what's called prepaid health care. The public expects health care to be paid for because they're paying a premium, and they feel like they're already paid for their health care, so they should get everything for free. Well, that causes overutilization, patient demands that they just want something, and because we have a litigious society in the United States, we can't have a system like Europe or Canada. I've worked in Europe, and I created a shoulder replacement in Switzerland. They don't have the medical legal climate we have. So we can't have a European system or a Canadian system because our legal system prevents that from happening. Docs will just quit because you can't have your cake and eat it too. They don't have ridiculous lawsuits. Over 90% of medical malpractice suits are frivolous, and if they go to court, the physician almost always wins. That just tells you that it's a waste of dollars, and you can't have a system like Europe and have the same medical legal climate we have here. They don't mesh.
No,
you have to. In the UK, the loser pays. So there are no lawsuits that are frivolous.
You know, you brought up a point about health insurance, and people are just expecting not to pay out of pocket. They're expecting to have their benefit when they go to see a provider like you or a provider like me. And I'm going to tell you, at least 5 to 10 times a week, I disappoint when I say our company disappoints our caller, because our caller calls in and they believe that Medicare is going to pay for home care services. And I have to be the bearer of news, saying they don't pay for in-home care services. If it's medical, if it's home health, if you need infusion care, you need medication, you need PT, OT, yes, you can get a home health provider and Medicare will pay for that. But my census is north of 65 in terms of age group, and they're all expecting it to pay for home care, and it does not.
Well, it's like anything. It's knowledge. You have to educate people first. But people, we're all guilty of this. We all tend to turn a blind eye if it doesn't meet your needs, and you want to wish it away, and you don't pay attention. I don't want to talk about it. It's too frustrating or whatever. And that's what I find a lot. People just don't have any concept at all of really what's going on.
I think what's more depressing is that I don't think there's a solution because of all the politics, because of all the vested parties that are benefiting from the system. How is this going to change?
I liked David's solution. I like the mutual company idea.
You need somebody who is apolitical, who's going to go in and buck the system, because insurance companies are so powerful.
Who's going to mandate it?
You're listening to Health Futures. We're at halftime. We will be right back. It's time for a break.
We need a 3 hours.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
It appears the U.S. government may be getting closer to officially blaming Russia for hacking into Democratic Party files. Evan Perez reports officials say they have pretty firm evidence.
The picture that they're getting is that there is near certainty that Russian intelligence was behind the fact that the hacks against the Democratic Party organizations, including the DNC.
U.S. intelligence agencies said to be cautioning against naming Russia as the culprit because of possible exposure of U.S. intelligence operations. Some startling news this afternoon about the terror attacks in Paris last year that left 130 people dead. European officials now say there are still 30 to 40 ISIS terrorists who supported the attack on the loose. Clarissa Ward with more on that.
Some of them may have disappeared and simply be off the grid, but some of them you can be sure are known to authorities, but it's just not clear how exactly or on what grounds they can be prosecuted.
Wall Street stocks on track today for their biggest losses since June. The Dow has been more than 300 points lower all afternoon. I'm Michael Toscano.
I'm Murphy, a service tech at a Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center.
I need help.
They always do.
I'm overdue for an oil change.
No problem.
Tire rotation?
Got it.
Top off the fluid?
Yep.
Check the battery and filters?
Roger.
The sprocket lockets?
No such thing.
Seeing if you're listening.
I haven't stopped.
Today's Saturday, and I don't have an appointment.
Now you do.
Cool.
Very cool.
No appointment necessary. Weekend hours and trained techs ready to give your car the works. Quick Lane is ready to serve. Visit quicklane.com.
Did you know the flu shot takes up to 2 weeks to take effect? That's why I'm getting my flu shot now, so I can outsmart the flu before there's an outbreak. At Walgreens, your flu shot even helps give a life-saving vaccine to a child in need through the UN Foundation. Get a shot, give a shot. Doubly smart. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Through August 31st, 2017, for every immunization given, Walgreens will donate 22 cents up to $2 million. Learn more at walgreens.com/get-a-shot. Vaccine restrictions apply.
For a happier life, remember, it's your money. Be smart with it. And listening every day to Money Radio will cause your money IQ to go up, way up.
High returns on your investments? Who wouldn't want that? This is Sinclair No, with a strategy that could increase your overall return on your investment portfolio. It's called Decadian. The Decadian investment methodology encompasses a 10-year goal for financial freedom, plus something that's really missing today, straight talk, so you know you have a financial advisor you can trust. Great investment recommendations that far exceed what your institutional markets offer. All this wrapped with performance guarantees. Only those who know what they can do will guarantee what they can do. Decadian. Decadian.com. Decadian. That's Decadian.com. Call 844-332-2342. 844-332-2342. Here for you when you need it most. Decadian.
On paper, summer is almost over. On asphalt, that's an entirely different story. During the Indian Motorcycle Legendary Summer Event, find great offers on America's first motorcycle, like a $1,500 trade-in allowance on select models, with payments as low as $5 a day, but only for a limited time. Promotion offers subject to credit approval. Offers valid through 9/30/16. Certain restrictions and exclusions apply. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet, never drink and ride.
Visit Indian Motorcycle Chandler.
Scottsdale Cigar Club is without doubt the friendliest cigar store and lounge in the Valley of the Sun, conveniently located in the Scottsdale Air Park at 14525 North 79th Street. Our phone number is 480-946-7833. 350 choices of cigars. We are open to everyone 7 days a week. Free Wi-Fi. 7 TVs on one wall. Hope to see you there.
Join Daniel Bustamante, co-founder of Landshark Analytics and LongShortRadio.com, and learn to trade from the pros. Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. on the Financial Review.
I'm Bruce Bale with Your Money Now. Federal Reserve Bank of Boston President Eric Rosengren today said a reasonable case can be made for tightening interest rates to avoid overheating the economy. During a morning speech in Massachusetts, Mr. Rosengren said holding rates at their current low level for much longer risks making labor markets too tight, forcing the Fed to raise interest rates sharply, which could result in another recession. He didn't specifically say whether he supports raising interest rates this month. His remarks, though, and other concerns about interest rate increases are sending stocks to steep losses. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 306 points. The Nasdaq Composite is off 106. The S&P 500 is down 42 points. Oil prices were volatile this week. Today, crude futures fell $1.74 to $45.88 a barrel, but oil was up 3% for the week. That's Your Money Now.
I've been teaching organic chemistry for the last 17 years, so I'm pretty good with complex calculations. But when I started thinking about my retirement, I was pretty stumped. Luckily, I have TIAA as my financial partner. Together, we retrosynthetically analyzed my financial future, which is organic chem speak for we figured it out.
Your personal success takes a financial partner who values it as much as you do. Learn more at TIAA.org.
If you're familiar with cloud computing, you probably know that Amazon Web Services offers a complete set of secure compute, storage, application, and deployment services that help companies launch and scale their IT infrastructures while lowering costs. But did you know that you're still responsible for protecting your own AWS-based assets, meaning your applications and data, from advanced cyber threats? Protect your AWS with Barracuda Network's advanced firewall solutions. Visit AWS Marketplace or barracuda.com/AWS to learn more.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth. We're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park. It is September 9th. And we are on our third segment. We're down 2. We're on our third. And if you missed the first 2, I've got Dr. David Bailie from ASICS here in the studio, and I've got the owner and president of Money Radio, Ron Cohen, here. And you can catch the first 2 segments up on our website at cypresshomecare.com. Catch about 130 others that we've been bringing to you for the last 3.5 years. So when we left off, we're talking about healthcare. And I mean, the show, and I think you said it, and James picked up on it right when we went to take the break. He said this could be 3 hours long, and it literally could. And I just want to say this, and the president of Banner Health, I serve on one of their boards for Banner Alzheimer's Institute. It's an incredible institute, and they're finding breakthroughs all the time. We're hopeful that we not only find a cure or just a way to turn off this Alzheimer's disease, but he made a statement back in December of 2013. And he talked about how healthcare is changing. And healthcare is changing so fast. And he used the analogy of a speeding car down the freeway going about 60 to 70 miles an hour. And you have a blowout in your right front tire. You don't have time to pull off to figure out how to change that tire. You got to figure out how to change that tire while you're still going 70 miles an hour. Because as providers of services like you are, Dr. Bailie, and me as a home care agency, if we don't stay and think about how to change, because if we stay the same, we're going to be obsolete. Well, it's going to leave us in the dust.
This is so complex, but let's just go back to the whole reason I started ASICS was patient-physician relationship. I have a vast amount of experience. I'm super specialized. My education training, I didn't have my first job till I'm 32 years old. Working 150 hours a week in my residency, pretty much qualifying for food stamps with my family. Literally every other night up for 36 hours, all these things. There's an experience you get from doing all this. All that's history now. Nobody cares. Treatment is based on these algorithms that the insurance companies come up with that are financially based and not treatment based. And they look at a grid and say, okay, you recommended to Mr. Roth he needed this procedure. Well, he doesn't meet the criteria according to what we decide internally, which is not, by the way, available to any practitioner to know. It's proprietary. And so we deny the care. And if I'm on your health plan, you can't pay me cash and you can't negotiate a fee with me. You can't accept negotiations. So you basically get no care. However, if you're out of network, we can negotiate whatever we want. And I can do free care. I can do discount. I discount everybody. And I do a lot more out of network than I did before. I've been off Medicare 7 years. My Medicare patients are the happiest in my whole practice. And they're more and more because they get the care they need. And the big expenses, the hospital fees and all that, we make sure we do them in facilities that pay those expenses. So those are all covered. But my personal fee, they're like, I thought it was going to cost me X, Y, Z. It's only going to cost me this for you to put a new shoulder in. And they don't understand that, and the private insurance companies don't want you to know that because they don't want to pay the out-of-network benefit because it costs them more. Right. So they discourage you from using it, say it's going to cost you you're going to get balance billed and you're going to get this and you're going to get that. Well, why do you even have the benefit if you're not using it? Well, out-of-network works to your advantage if you have the benefit. So you should use it, but you have to have a provider who understands it, who's not going to abuse it. And that's where it gets complicated, because you can get hurt pretty bad using them if you don't have a provider that's honest and ethical and understands the purpose of out-of-network and helping their patients. But all that being said, it's the interference with care that is scary. And one quick note, in a surgical field, my residency was 5 years. I went to Northwestern. It was a grind. And then a year of super subspecialty sports medicine training, working professional teams of all the leagues. And it was, just a grind. But the experience you get is, what I saw in the year of my fellowship, for instance, was more than most orthopedic surgeons see in their entire practice. And the fact is that they did a survey on residents. They recently cut the hours residents can work to 80 a week. We didn't have any limits. So now they're kind of like trying to form unions and say we want more pay and we don't want to work as much. Surgical residents right now, there was a survey that went out looking across all specialties. 80% of surgical residents don't feel they're ready to practice medicine when they graduate, because they've lost 2 full years of training due to their hours being cut. So you got these young guys who are coming out working for hospitals, they're salaried, that are being pushed to take over healthcare, and they're not comfortable doing anything. They don't even feel comfortable. So either they don't do it, or they do it and they do a bad job because they don't have the skill set. There's the art side of therapy. You can want to be a surgeon, especially hands. You can want to be a physician, but you have to have the skill set to do it, and that takes 10,000 hours to master any task. That's been, it doesn't matter what it is, 10,000 hours.
Absolutely. Or
10 years. And there's several papers written on that, not just in medicine. If you're in a surgical specialty and you've just lost all your experience in your training due to some stupid government rules, you're going to go out and hurt people when you don't even want to. It's a scary thing.
Yeah, it is a scary thing. And, what's interesting, you talk about, as we call it, analytics, and insurance companies are making decisions based on analytics. From a provider standpoint, home health, HomeCare, and others are really setting up care based on analytics too. When you sit down and you and I were talking about how people are living longer now, and they're having all these morbidities. We're not just having CHF, but now we have CHF. We've got dementia. We've got, COPD. You've got all kinds of ailments. You can kind of predict some of the outcomes as it relates to, what type of care that they need based on statistical data that we have. But you really shouldn't make a decision from what I'm hearing you're saying in terms of the surgical procedure or, whether a CT scan or MRI can be done, because you really don't have that information until you do.
Well, and the other thing is, you got to realize in the United States, 90% of our healthcare dollars are spent in the last 5 years of life. So it is wasteful.
It is.
But because we have this medical legal climate, you have physicians and hospitals and caregivers don't have a choice. So if you have 98-year-old grandmother who breaks her hip and has terminal cancer and goes into the hospital, and the family wants to put them on life support and try to do everything possible, and it costs $10 million to do that, you have to do that. And there have been court cases where the ethics committee at the hospital says this isn't right, and they go to court and a judge makes a decision. There was the one famous case where the girl was in a vegetative state for 30 years because
Karen,
Shivago or whatever.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
It is.
And you can't have your cake and eat it too. And the whole system needs to be turned upside down by somebody who has the guts to do it and just say, stop, start over, be rational. But, human nature is not always rational. It's, what's in it for me. And that's unfortunately the way our politics is going on both sides of the aisle. And that affects healthcare. Is political now. It's not healthcare.
No, you're right. It's not healthcare, but also through scientific and medical breakthroughs, people are living a lot longer. And David, I think you'll agree, people are living a lot longer. But now that they're living a lot longer, they have lots of more issues. They got more issues than they would have ever had before.
No question.
And I'm talking about Alzheimer's, and I'm very closely related to Alzheimer's. And when you think about every dollar that is spent on Alzheimer's care, less than a penny is being spent on research. And I want you to just hold on to this one thought because we're getting ready for a break. You know, President John F. Kennedy in 1961 said, we're going to get to the moon. He put all his resources against it. He made a commitment and dedicated that we're going to land somebody in the moon in the next decade. You imagine if we put that kind of energy into trying to find a cure for this disease and, you know, really eradicate this disease from our society. I mean, when you really think about it, right now 5.4 million people, Americans, have this. They're saying by 2030 we're going to have 15 million people having this, costing our economy $1.4 trillion a year.
I will tell you, though, this is a very political statement, but there is no money in doing research and cures. There's money in treating, which is why everybody's on chemotherapy. And most people who die from cancer die from the chemotherapy effects, not the cancer itself. My mom was one of those last year. If she didn't have chemotherapy, she'd be alive today.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. We're up against a break. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth. We will be right back.
Hi, I'm David Goldstein, CEO of Arizona's premier collateral lender, Biltmore Loan. Today, I'm proud to announce the opening of our landmark location at 10830 North Scottsdale Road in Scottsdale, a block north of Shea. If you need cash, Biltmore can turn your significant assets into significant cash instantly. And while our office building is brand new, you'll find our way of doing business is strictly old-fashioned. You see, we not only offer you the best terms, we offer you the highest expertise and the best experience. We treat you with respect, and when we give you our word, you can take it to the bank. Because at Biltmore, we can buy or loan on almost anything you own, from jewelry, antiques, and fine art to cars and real estate. So please go to BiltmoreLoan.com, that's BiltmoreLoan.com, or call 480-991-LOAN. That's 480-991-LOAN. At Biltmore, we say yes when the bank says no.
Hi, I'm Gary Kolf. I'm host of the nationally syndicated radio show Investor's Edge. We're not just handsome radio people. We manage investors' money for a living, specializing in fee-based discretionary money management. No big commissions, just a fee on the assets that's managed. We also provide a full range of personalized services, including retirement planning, insurance, fixed income, and educational needs, all to assist you in achieving your financial goals. Understanding not all individuals have the same needs, we will carefully evaluate your personal goals to determine a proper investment strategy. If your current approach to investing is not getting you where you would like to be, call us to make an appointment for a complimentary portfolio review. The number to call, 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559.
Your one blood donation can help save the lives of up to 3 people. Give blood through the American Red Cross to help hospital patients. Call 1-800-RED-CROSS or visit redcrossblood.org today.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and if you're just tuning in, we're on our 4th segment. And it's hard to believe it's soon to come to an end. I've got Dr. David Bailie from ASICS here in the studio, and I've got Ron Cohen, the CEO, president, and owner of Money Radio. You know, gentlemen, we've been talking about healthcare, and we've been talking a little bit about where we are, where we've come. You know, we're here. And unfortunately, the future looks, how should I say, to make it sound politically correct, challenging.
Bleak, my friend.
It looks challenging.
I'm not politically correct, and I have no political affiliation, but I'm a realist, and I'm in the trenches.
Well, you guys have thoroughly depressed my listening audience, so I'd like to end this segment on some kind of an uptick, okay?
Yeah, well, here's the uptick is just like in anything, if you take control over your health, you'll mitigate some of the things Bob has talked about with requiring all these health expenditures later in your life. So learn how to eat healthy, what's really healthy food, exercise, do all these things. And, I mean, that's what I preach to my patients. With even knee problems, if you have a normal weight, your knee problems typically don't work. There's tons of literature out there to support that. You don't have diabetes and hypertension and all these things. So you have to have some personal responsibility, and that's not that hard to do. You just have to change your lifestyle and get in a habit. And it takes 3 weeks to do a habit, to develop a habit.
And, I want to say this, okay?
So there's the positive.
So Ron, and really trying to end on a good note, okay? And I want to dovetail on what David's saying here. Is this month of September is what we call it's National Fall Prevention Month. With autumn starting on September 22nd, we wanted really elevate and put it in the forefront because falls are preventable. They are very preventable, and if you do some of the things that David's talking about, eating right, exercising, if you work on your core and strengthening your core, you can live out your life. If someone 85 years old that takes a fall, they have a 50% chance of survival. I mean, they 50% of the time they die within 2 weeks. I mean,
correct.
Falls kill people every day. Matter of fact, there are more people or equal amount of people that die from automobile accidents that they do from falls. I mean, it is scary in terms of what the statistics are.
Well, we're the only machine where the machine is not given the proper fuel and not used properly. And most machines wear out the more you use them. But if you put water in your gas tank, it's not going to run very well. So the fuel you put in your body is critically important. So you have to educate yourself what's going to be beneficial. And you can't listen to the media or the grocery stores and organic or this or that. You have to do your own homework. It's not that complicated. The second thing is if you don't use your machine, we're the only machine that if you don't use it, more is better, put it that way. If you overuse your car, it breaks down. You have to get it more maintenance. The human body has to be used more. So sitting on the couch, the reason Europeans aren't, you go to Europe, the reason you don't see obesity over there and health problems that we have,
because they move.
They smoke like crazy, and they don't have cancer like we have.
They walk everywhere. They move.
Yeah, their food chain is cleaner, and they move. They walk everywhere.
They walk everywhere. And you sit down and you talk about, Ron coming to you and me as well. I mean, we wear out parts. I mean, knees wear out, shoulders wear out, but, thanks to modern medicine, we can fix those things.
Correct.
We can definitely fix those things. Where before, if you take an animal, and I'll use my dog who blew out her knee. I mean, at 4.5 years old, I mean, we probably would have put her down, but we had her knee replaced, and she's back at like new. I mean, we didn't put people down, but you had to live with a bum knee or a bum shoulder for the rest of your life when you blew it out. Now we can fix it. But interesting thing about falls, 2.5 million seniors end up in the ER every single year because they've taken a fall. And it's so preventable. I mean, the fact is that we are aging, but we have to be mindful of the fact that we're 54 and not 24. And when you get up out of that chair, you can't move as fast. You got to be able to take your time, knowing that your footing may get tripped up, and you could take a spill.
Yeah, no question about it.
And I would imagine when you sit down, you look at some of the surgeries you do. What percentage do you think are those that have taken falls?
Quite a few, actually.
I know one of your patients, which was a dear friend of my family's. You did both of his shoulders, and I think both of them. He took falls.
Yeah, trip and falls or twist and fall and things like that. So, yeah, I do knee and shoulder. That's all I do, and quite a few are fall related. And as you get older, the point you were making is an elderly female grandma goes with a hip fracture to the emergency room. She has a 50% chance of coming out of there, even if everything goes perfectly. And that's a scary thing.
But, again, I want to just point out it is preventable. And, we need to be mindful of that in eating right, exercising, and knowing that, you're not 20 anymore. You're 50 or you're 60 or you're 70. You need to be a little more cautious. You need to be a little more patient. Take your time. Watch your footing.
Yeah, not let your ego get in the way too much. Some people refuse to use an assistive device, a walker or crutches or a cane or something like that because they don't want to look too old.
Mm-hmm.
If you're little, they're also, yoga's great, even if you do it at home, and not the stretching so much as the neuromuscular balance, what we call balance postures. If putting older people on that at home to to retrain their neuromuscular system to give them better balance is a great idea. They just shouldn't do it alone so they don't fall. But it's that kind of thing. There's a lot of prevention that could be done.
Well, I want to share a final note, and both of you guys experienced loss in the last year, and you mentioned it at the end of the last break. You lost your mom, and oftentimes what she died of chemotherapy, it happens more times than not. And Ron, you lost your mom in the last year, and this month represents 14 years since I've lost my mom. And moms are special, and it's it really cuts you to the core, and it really makes you realize your mortality and the number of days that you have in this life. And I just wanted to take a moment and just send my condolences. And I know how hard it's been. And 1 year, the pain is still very sharp, I would imagine, for both of you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
So as we conclude our segment, to your point, Ron, let's end on a good note. So what kind of message do you want to leave to our listening audience? I know that this guy wants to talk Michigan football, but we're going to run out of time. So I want you to talk about. So I know you are. I got Michigan.
But
Michigan
I'll tell
State.
you talk about 9/11 and the patriotism that is taken place in this country, and all of the political statements that are being made, particularly with the NFL. Well, our Cardinals are going to play the Patriots, and I hope we beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, I love it.
Hey, Cardinals are favored to win the Super Bowl, according to Sports Illustrated. So,
that's Sports Illustrated jinx. Okay, so you got some final comments here before we go.
My comment is I think the beauty of our country is freedom, but more importantly, the emphasis on education, and not our schools. But the fact is, a lot of countries suppress the ability to gain knowledge, whether it's monitoring the internet or their papers or whatever. The fact is, the more you can educate yourself on whatever interests you, whether it's food, what foods to eat, health, fitness, politics, whatever, you can make educated decisions. The downfall of our country is going to be the lack of education in whatever decisions you have to make. You have to understand what you're looking into. You got to educate yourself.
Yeah, and Dr. Bailie, I want to thank you for being here. That's something about Money Radio, is that it's not just about money. It's really about consumerism, and consumerism spans everything, and particularly the healthcare field. We need to be more educated about that as consumers.
Make it a great day. Have a great weekend, and thank you, Dr. Bailie. Thank you, Ron, for being on the show.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress HomeCare Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
For investors who are tired of the same old stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, Farmfolio's agriculture investments may be a great way to refresh your retirement portfolio. Agribusiness is one of the few asset classes that may offer both long-term stability and sustained aggressive growth. Listen to Farmfolio CEO Dax Cook Thursday morning at 7:10 on Business for Breakfast, and learn how Farmfolio's farm shares can give you access to equity in large-scale agricultural projects. That's Farmfolio this Thursday morning at 7:10 on Business for Breakfast.
Money Radio 1510
and 99.3 FM.
Is KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257CD Phoenix. If you want great advice on traditional investing or non-traditional investing, you're at the right place. Keep listening for all the different ideas right here. As we get near the end of the trading day, the Dow is down 380 points, S&P 500 down 52, the NASDAQ down 130 points.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin now.